Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast with your hosts, Reese Downing and Jacob Workman.
What's going on, guys? It is TNT Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast, Super Bowl picks and prop bets. We are finally at the last game of the season. Took a week off last week because there wasn't much going on, so we're back in action today. We'll have a bunch of stuff to talk about here as far as prop bets go. We will also be talking to Carter, who just dropped off the call, so we'll see if he joins back up again.
No, I hit him. He's frozen. I was just going to ignore it.
You've got him hit him,
but you decided to call it out. So
okay, well, fair enough. Well, with me as always is the fine citizen, Mr. Jacob Workman. Jake, how's it going, brother?
Oh, just doing some hidden producing here.
Yeah, not so hidden.
Everything's good. Everything's good. One final game to end it all. Not really excited about that, but I think we're going to have a good one.
Yeah. Should be a good one. Let's hop into results very quickly from last week. Carter, who's having some connection problems, was the lone wolf from the conference title game. He's the only one who went 2-0. Jake, Ike, and myself went 1-1. We both picked KC correctly, but missed the Commanders. Scott had the only goose egg, picking Buffalo and Washington. And with us again is the Carter. Thanks for joining for the fourth time. You get everything good over there?
I'm trying. Okay. I need new internet. I think it sucks.
It's all good, man. Well, we appreciate you joining on the show with us. Let's hop right in here. Because we did not have a show last week, we're going to start off with recapping the two conference championship games. What's that? All right. Well, we're going to move forward here. Carter's obviously having all sorts of issues. It's that Muncie, Indiana internet or Fort Wayne internet, whatever it is. Let's talk Eagles Commanders. Philadelphia Eagles dominated the Washington Commanders in the NFC Championship game. They won the game 55-23 and advanced to their second Super Bowl appearance in the last 3 seasons. Saquon Barkley, yet again, a major factor in the Eagles' victory. Rushed for 118 yards for 3 touchdowns and set an NFL record by scoring his 7th 60-yard touchdown of the season. Jalen Hurts arguably had one of his best games of the year. He rushed for 3 touchdowns while passing for 246 yards and another score through the air. Philly set a record for most points at a conference championship game since the 1970 merger. Also worth noting, A.J. Brown finished with 96 yards and a touchdown, a season-high performance for him. Despite a strong start for Washington, the team did struggle with turnovers, totaling 4 in the game, and they just weren't able to keep up with Philly's defense. While we've got you, Carter, what were your thoughts on the Commanders Eagles game?
It just came down to those turnovers. It seemed like every time the Commanders were driving, they just had butterfingers and fumbled the ball. I think they had 3 fumbles. It's crazy. That was 2 weeks ago, so my memory's a little hazy on it. But yeah, I said whoever was going to win the turnover battle on that one would win, and Philly was too much.
Jake, what were your thoughts on the matchup?
Yeah, I think the nice run that Washington had just came to a crashing end. I mean, everything was falling apart for them. They were playing a team for the 3rd time, and it just didn't go anywhere how they could have possibly wanted it to go. But disappointing end of the season in the conference championship game. But, I mean, I think everyone, it's pretty obvious Philly was the better team in that matchup. So I think kind of what a lot of people expected to happen.
Yeah, I think we thought it was going to be a little bit more competitive than what it turned out to be. But broadly speaking, I mean, hats off to the Commanders. They had a hell of a first season with rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn as the head coach. Moving into the Chiefs-Bills matchup, the Kansas City Chiefs secured a 32-29 victory over the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game, earning a chance to defend their Super Bowl title for an unprecedented 3rd time. This also marks KC's 9th consecutive playoff win. Pat Mahomes led the charge for the Chiefs with 245 passing yards and a touchdown, along with 2 rushing scores, while Xavier Worthy finished with 6 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown. The game was a back-and-forth affair. Buffalo's Josh Allen threw for 237 yards and 2 scores, while running back James Cook contributed 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. Despite a late-game push from Buffalo, including a touchdown that tied the game at 29-all, the Chiefs did come out on top thanks to a clutch drive and a key field goal from Harrison Butker with 3:33 left in the game. That makes it the 4th straight postseason matchup where the Chiefs have beat the Bills. Jake, what were your thoughts on the matchup?
Yeah, we kind of said it when the regular season matchup happened. The Bills beat the Chiefs, and we were like, yeah, but can they do it when it matters? And again, like you just said, for the 4th straight time, the answer is no.
Yep.
The Chiefs are just the Chiefs. You have to be impressed with what they've been able to do, to be able to continue to just make it year after year after year. And the way the NFL is, it's very impressive. I mean, I know these guys get a lot of credit, and I don't even think it's enough credit, honestly, for what they're getting. The defense is very good. Spags is incredible, and the offense kind of steals all the thunder. But I mean, that defense, what they do is incredible. I think that's going to be a huge part of this Sunday, honestly, too.
Carter, what were your thoughts on the game?
That was my biggest takeaway. Is I feel like Spags is somehow underrated.
Yeah.
Like, he was the key in this game. I mean, Reed and Mahomes and Kelsey steal all the thunder, but when Allen was driving there at the end, Spagnuolo heated Allen up, and Allen threw a perfect ball, I thought, to Kincaid, and Kincaid just couldn't make a play on it there. But he just finds a way to turn up the pressure when they need it most. And I mean, they were at home, and this kind of reminds me of the Brady Manning rivalry a little bit. And Mahomes is Brady 2.0. So great game.
Yeah, great game by both teams. Again, it's just another tight victory. The Chiefs just seem to be pulling out all of these one-score victories. They've been doing it all season. All right, last time we were with you guys, there were 4 coaching openings that were still available: the Cowboys, Raiders, Jags, and Saints. 3 of the 4 of those have since been filled. Let's start in Jacksonville, which was a wild 48 hours. In the last show, the news on the Jags front was that Liam Cohen had withdrawn his name from consideration for the head coaching position. Shortly after that was announced, the Jags announced that they had decided to fire GM Trent Baalke, and it was rumored that they were going to make another run at Cohen. Well, not only did that turn out to be true, but they got their guy. There is a new head ball coach in Jacksonville. He is going to have to work a little bit on his battle cry.
Duval.
Yeah, so Liam Cohen, obviously a really smart offensive mind. He's been able to do some pretty cool stuff in Tampa with Baker Mayfield. He's also chosen the Packers linebackers coach and running game coordinator Anthony Campanelli as the team's DC. Jake, what are your thoughts on the hiring of Liam Cohen in Jacksonville?
Well, if you remember, it was probably about the middle of the season last year during the college football season. I was trying to get this guy the head coaching job at Ball State. That was my favorite to be their new head coach. Obviously, they never fired New then, and Liam went back to the NFL. So a lot of things have changed since then. I think it's a good hire. I think he's a great offensive mind. Obviously, the guy's a big, dumb fucking moron, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can take away his offensive coaching ability and what he knows about football. For the Ball State people in the world, his wife did go to Ball State, so I think there has to be some sort of support for Liam in Jacksonville because of that. It'll be interesting to see if Trevor Lawrence can come back to life with him or not. I think that's going to be the story of his tenure there. Jacksonville's got an interesting situation. They're redoing the stadium, so they're really not even going to have home games. Then mix that with a new coach and trying to rebuild everything and a new GM. It's either going to be I think it's feast or famine here. The division is not a bad division. I think you can go in there and contend. That's the one thing I will give them. It's just that's a tough situation right now.
Yeah, not an easy coaching job to step into, but to your point, they do have a division that they could potentially be able to make some noise in. Carter, as a division rival in the Colts, what are your thoughts on the hire?
I think he's going to have a lot of weapons to work with there on the offense. I'm a big believer in Trevor Lawrence. I know he probably took a step back or two this year, but I've always thought he was really good. He's got Brian Thomas out there. Probably needs to work on the offensive line. Defensively, we know they got players. They've drafted in the top 10 for the last 10 years, and they're all a bunch of studs on defense, but they got to get that right. And, yeah, very winnable division for everyone but the Colts. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, everyone but the Colts. This is times like that. I wish Scott were on the call. Let's move on to the next one here. The Las Vegas Raiders have also found their next head coach after missing out on the Ben Johnson sweepstakes. Tom Brady and the Raiders went after and landed a Super Bowl winning head coach in the gum chomper himself, Pete Carroll. Carroll and the Raiders agreed to a multi-year contract and are now focused on finding the team's next quarterback. They also announced that they will be retaining Patrick Graham as the team's defensive coordinator and are bringing in former Eagles and 49ers head coach and most recently Ohio State offensive coordinator Chip Kelly as the team's offensive coordinator. Carter, what are your thoughts on the hire for Pete Carroll, and how do you, I guess you could say, what do you think they're going to do at the quarterback position?
Real good question. It's interesting they plucked Chip Kelly away from Ohio State. He's, I think they gave him like $6 million or something like that to be OC, which is what he was making as head coach out at UCLA. So good for him. He doesn't have to do the recruiting thing and just focus on offense. And I mean, you got to trust him as OC that he'll get the offense rolling. Kind of crazy seeing Pete back in the NFL. But we'll see how it goes.
Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how to feel about it. It's an interesting kind of coaching connection with Kelly and Carroll. Obviously, you have to start wondering if that means that Will Howard is potential the next quarterback at the Raiders. I mean, he's not that high on people's draft boards. I think they could probably get away with getting him even in the second round if they wanted to, if not later, depending on how combine and stuff goes. But obviously, a lot of things to fix in Vegas. But I mean, they have at least some starting pieces. I'll give them that. It's just in that division. I kind of said this when we were talking about it. Like, why would you want to go to that division right now?
Yeah, I mean, the AFC in general is pretty brutal, but that division especially is not going to be an easy division to win. All right, well, we said 3 of the 4 positions have been filled. The third one is the Dallas Cowboys. So despite my plea to do something reasonable, they did announce on January 24th that the Cowboys have hired offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer as their next head coach. The Cowboys have been busy since our last show. They did also announce the hiring of former Bears head coach Matt Eberflus to the DC position. He's an old coach in Dallas. We also hired Cardinals offensive line coach Clayton Adams as the team's new offensive coordinator. In addition to that, they also hired the former 49ers DC Nick Sorensen as their special teams coordinator, replacing longtime coordinator John Bones Faschel, who is now with the Titans. Jake, what were your thoughts on the Cowboys hire?
I really don't know how I feel. I mean, I don't really like that coaching staff, to be honest. And I mean, I've been one of the biggest proponents of what is Dallas supposed to do when they gave Dak that contract. That's where I really just don't know what they do. Free agency, I don't think is going to be that great for them. The draft, I mean, it's a middle of the road pick. I think that they need quite a bit. So I don't know, to be honest. It's with Philly and Washington the way they are now. I even think the Giants are not that far away from being better than Dallas at this point. To be honest, if they had a real quarterback, I think they might be better. So that's it. It's hard to. I don't feel very good about Dallas, to be honest. I think it's I think next year might be an interesting season for them.
Carter, what are your thoughts?
About the same as yours, probably. I mean, I guess it's nice to have some continuity on offense with Schottenheimer. Not that it was great, but getting Dak back healthy will help. I like Eberflus as a DC. I thought he did well in Indianapolis. Coming back to Dallas, I've seen online, it seems like Micah Parsons is saying the right things about restarting the franchise and getting them rolling. So, but yeah, it's another tough division with the Commanders and Eagles, and see what the Giants do.
Yeah, super difficult division. I'm not, obviously, wasn't excited about Schottenheimer as the potential. Now he's obviously in that position. Offensive coordinator by name only. I mean, he wasn't calling plays. That was McCarthy. I do really like the 2 coordinator hires. I like Eberflus. I think he's solid as a DC. I don't think he worked out well as a head coach, but I do think he can be a solid defensive coordinator. And Clayton Adams is a guy who stepped into Dallas a couple times and showed a really strong run game. And I think we need to get back to that. Now, what we do in the offseason, whether it's through the draft or through free agency to try to get a running back, because Rico Dowdle right now is a free agent. We've got, a lot of people are projecting John T to be picked at 12. I don't trust the Jones family to be able to make that move. I do think he could be a difference maker for the offense to take a little bit of pressure off of Dak. So I would like to see that. There is some depth, I think, in running back this year in the draft. So I don't know if they necessarily need to take him at the 12 spot if there's some bigger names available. But I like the guys behind Schottenheimer that have been built out. So we'll see what happens. A little bit more optimistic than I was last week 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Schottenheimer. But I still don't understand the hire. I feel like this is kind of a lame duck position, and it partially could be, to Jake's point, because we just don't have money to spend. So throwing all that money at Dak has really strapped the team. Luckily, Micah Parsons has been pretty vocal in saying that he's okay with taking a lesser dollar amount than what he would get paid elsewhere, and he wants to be a Cowboy for life. So hopefully he holds on to that, and we are able to keep him, but we'll see what happens in Dallas.
These guys don't look too fucking good.
I knew the smirk, you were waiting to play something. I could just tell something was coming in the background. The last team that has not had a hire yet is the New Orleans Saints. They remain the only team without a head coach, but after a second interview and many other coaches deciding their future, it will be shocking if the Saints don't announce that Kellen Moore is going to be the next head coach shortly after the Super Bowl. So we'll keep an eye on that. That seems to be the logical place where Kellen's going to end up. We do have some more coaching news here. Former Jets head coach Robert Saleh is back in action. He's returning to the Bay Area as the 49ers' new defensive coordinator. Speaking of the Jets, Aaron Glenn has found his OC and DC, agreeing to terms with Lions passing game coordinator Tanner Ergenstrand as the team's OC, and Steve Wilkes will be the new defensive coordinator. They also hired the Seahawks' Charles London as the new QB coach. Houston Texans have parted ways with OC Bobby Slowick after 2 seasons. That's a little bit surprising because Bobby was getting buzz for head coaching positions just last year during the cycle. They have already found his replacement. They hired Rams assistant Nick Caley as the team's new OC. Jake, what are your thoughts on the firing of Bobby Slowick? I saw a reaction there.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's shows how fast things can change in the NFL. I mean, last year, him and Ben Johnson were probably the 2 most sought after coordinator to coaches, and now he's gone. I mean, I don't even really fault him. Like, they had so many injuries. Like, it's not like they were terrible. They still made the playoffs. Like, I don't know. I thought that was an interesting decision.
Yeah, not only did they make the playoffs, but they won their first game, and that was without a lot of pieces, to your point. Tank Dell was out, Stephon Diggs was out. They were dealing with a lot of injuries, so that is very eye-opening. I like Nick Caley as a hire to replace him, but I just don't know if he's going to be any better or different than Slowick. So a little bit interesting there. Let's move into Jake's team here. The Detroit Lions have filled both of their coordinator vacancies, promoting linebackers coach Kelvin Shepard as the team's DC and Broncos passing game assistant John Morton as the new OC. It is also worth noting that they have hired former Stanford head coach David Shaw as the team's passing game coordinator. Jake, how are you feeling about the replacements for Ben and Aaron?
And great news, kept offensive line coach Hank Fraley also. So there's a lot of good things going on. Obviously, we knew we were losing English. I mean, it was obvious that he was going with Aaron Glenn to the Jets. I kind of like the Morton hire. The Shaw one concerns me a little bit, not in the aspect of what he is and what he brings, because I think he's brilliant. He's obviously been one of the better college head coaches. He's always been a great mind. The NFL Network had him on the draft show every year for a reason. He's very good to me. My thing is how much of our crazy play was Dan Campbell and how much of it was Ben Johnson? Because I don't think Morton and Shaw are going to be as aggressive as Dan and Ben. So I don't know if that means less 4th down attempts or if it just means Dan says, fuck it, I'm doing what I want still. And Dan still brings a lot of the play calls. I mean, you never know. Dan is very into the offensive game. So if he keeps his mark on it, I think we'll be the same team. I don't really think it's that big of a difference, to be honest. I think we have one coach that matters, and it's Dan Campbell. So that the guys we lose are the guys we lost. We'll see what happens for them, but I like what we're looking at.
All right, let's keep it moving here. Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady has pulled his name out of the Saints head coaching search, choosing to remain in Buffalo. Again, I think we probably already knew that was coming, considering Kellen Moore seems like a shoo-in for the position. Tampa Bay has promoted their passing game coordinator Josh Grizzard to the OC position, replacing Liam Cohen. The Seattle Seahawks have hired Saints offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak as their next OC, replacing Ryan Grubb, who is only with the team for 1 season.
Back to Bama. He signed.
Back to Bama. Grubb.
The duo is back together.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see DeBoer and Grubb back in action, playing for the Roll Tide there. Bears head coach Ben Johnson has found his coordinators as Chicago signed former Saints head coach Dennis Allen as the team's defensive coordinator and former Denver Broncos tight end coach Declan Doyle as the team's OC. They have also hired Eric Bieniemy as the team's running back coach. Two more quick updates on head coaching stuff. The Ravens and offensive coordinator Todd Monken have agreed to a contract extension. They are also bringing in, I want to get your thoughts on this, Carter. Former Colts head coach Chuck Pagano is back in the NFL for the first time since 2020, landing with the Baltimore Ravens as a senior secondary coach. What were your thoughts on that, Carter?
I was hoping you were going to touch on that. I'm excited. That's where he came from before he came to Indianapolis. I mean, he's going back to his roots, like he said, and they got a pretty talented secondary. One of my favorite players in the NFL, Kyle Hamilton. So I'm excited to see what they do there.
Safety Kyle Hamilton.
It's a couple good names there for Baltimore. And then finally, former Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy has announced that he will not coach in the upcoming 2025 season and will focus on the 26 hiring cycle.
Can I throw in something real quick on? So if Bieniemy was really part of all the craziness of the Chiefs offense a few years ago, I'm really interested to see what kind of shit they can cook up with him and Ben Johnson. If there's ever some bullshit plays coming out of a team, I expect it to be out of Chicago this year.
With Caleb.
With Caleb too, yeah. Yeah, that's going to be
I can't believe he's a running backs coach.
Well, I mean,
he talking about him for.
Well, he went to UCLA and was essentially nothing. I mean, he was he was technically OC, but I mean, he was nothing. Like I don't know. I mean, Bieniemy's had quite the little streak since he left Kansas City.
Yeah, I still don't fully understand why the guy hasn't. I mean, he was a buzz for 2 years straight after he left KC to try to land in a head coaching job, and then he seems like he's going backwards.
I hadn't even heard where he was at. That was the first time I heard his name. So,
did you know he was even at UCLA?
No.
Yeah, he was there for 2 years.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, hopefully this is his resurgence back to the NFL. We got a couple quick other additional notes here. Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski says that he will resume play calling in 2025, shortly after announcing the hire of the team's new OC, Tommy Rees. Bill Belichick and the University of North Carolina have officially signed his employment contract, ending speculation if there was any chance that he may reverse course and head back to the NFL. The Houston Texans have also moved on from their team president, Greg Grissom, who had been with the club since its inception. Former Jags All-Pro left tackle and Hall of Famer Tony Boselli has been named the team's executive VP of football operations. And finally, we've got two big news pieces on the player front, and we'll pause to have some conversation around this. First, Browns defensive end Myles Garrett has officially and publicly announced that he is requested to trade from the Cleveland Browns after 8 seasons with the franchise. And longtime Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp has also announced that the team notified him that they plan to try and trade him, quote, immediately. Jake, what are your thoughts on those two moves, and any thoughts on where you think these guys might end up?
Well, interesting enough, there's quite a lot of talk of both of these guys ending up as Lions. Cooper Kupp, actually a ton of talk, and I'm not against that. I love Cooper Kupp. Brad Holmes obviously is the one that brought him to the NFL, so bringing him over to Detroit I think would be a smart move, putting him back with Goff. They've played together before. Obviously, health is a little bit of a concern, but Cooper, even when he's 70%, is still an absolute amazing receiver. And he wouldn't have to be a focal point of our offense. He could be a slot player and pretty much just do what he does. He's incredible. He never drops the ball ever. Garrett, I've seen the speculation that it could be a first and a fourth this year or first and fifth this year with maybe a first next year in Hendon Hooker. Go ahead, please. I'm for that. I would have no problem giving up 2 firsts. We don't need that much right now. Pairing him with Aiden Hutchinson, we need to add a pass rush to our team. We have the pieces in place. We don't have that big of a window left to win a Super Bowl, I don't think. So I think it's now or never. So make the move, fuck them picks, see if we can do it. Other teams have proven it. Why not?
All right, fair enough. Well, as far as Cooper Kupp goes, some of the other teams that have gotten a little bit of buzz include the Washington Commanders, the Houston Texans, Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals have been one of those teams, and then the Buffalo Bills I've also seen some information on. Carter, what are your thoughts on both Garrett and Kupp?
So for Garrett, I like that. Him and Hutchinson would be fucking amazing. It is going to take at least 2 first rounders, though. I mean, what did Matt get? I think it was 2 firsts or something. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I think Garrett commands every bit of that. But like you said, what else do you really need on that team? You needed a pass rusher. If you would have had Hutch, you'd probably be in the Super Bowl right now. And then you get both of them. And then one name that I kind of thought was interesting you didn't mention for Kupp is the Patriots. Drake May has no weapons there. And I think the Steelers, I don't know if you mentioned them, they seem like they're looking for another pass catcher. So wherever he goes, he's going to be pretty awesome. The Bengals would be interesting because I don't think they're going to be able to re-sign T. Higgins. So him and Chase would be awesome. So it's exciting to see where these guys are going to go.
Yeah, we will keep an eye out on it. Of course, if we have any updates, we've got one more week after this one. So if not, we'll be updating you guys when we get closer to the draft. All right. That is it as far as news. Before we hop into actually picking the game, we are going to share some prop bets that we have all picked. Jake, let's just hand it off to you, man. You want to kind of walk through the prop bets you've got here?
Yeah, so I'll start with my number one every year I've ever bet, which has been a long time in my life. Heads in the Super Bowl has always been a bet that I've thrown in. I absolutely love that bet. I don't care. It's just something I always do. Minus 104, sure, it's cool. There'll be a decent amount on that. Anytime touchdown, Travis Kelce. I mean, the girl's going to be in the audience. We all know he's been absolutely killing in the playoffs. Kind of a resurgence. Like, I think it's just another playoff game for Travis Kelce. You have to expect him to get a touchdown. Under 109.5 rushing yards for Saquon. I trust Spags' defense. I think this is the focal point. Make Jalen Hurts beat you, whether it's with his feet or through the air. Saquon's not going to do it, and I think the Chiefs have the defense that can easily shut him down. I don't foresee him going for 110 yards. Both to record 15 passing yards in each quarter for Hurts and Mahomes. To me, I think this one's fairly simple, to be honest. I like this one. It's minus 105, so you do have to pay a little juice, but I think we're pretty safe here at both of them getting 15 in each quarter. This last one I'm just throwing out just because it's kind of what I like. I like the Chiefs to win by about 10 points in this game. Chiefs 28, Eagles 18. Exact score is plus 50,000. I think it's worth a shot.
If we don't have a cha-ching sound, we should.
How do you get to 18?
They'll find a way.
Okay. I didn't know if you had a plan.
They'll find a way. Scoregami. I like it. All right, Carter. Let's run through your prop bets here.
So the first one, over 1.5 fourth down conversions for the Eagles. I think they know they're going to have to be kind of aggressive. They do the tush push. If they get fourth and short, they're going for it. And touchdowns, not field goals, are going to beat the Chiefs. So plus 100, I thought that was a good bet. The longest touchdown, Philadelphia Eagles. I think this is a fun one throughout the whole game because it's not going to be locked up until it's over. The Eagles have had 22 touchdowns of over 20 yards this year, and I think the Chiefs only had 6. I think the Eagles' defense kind of bend but don't break. They're not going to give up any big plays, so I like that one. The next one's over 5.5 rushing yards for Xavier Worthy. I think if he just gets one touch, he breaks that, and he's had a couple carries the last few games. And with 2 weeks, Andy Reid's going to work a way to get the ball in his playmaker's hand. Kareem Hunt, first to 20 yards rushing. I just like the number on this. Saquon was like minus 150. This one was plus 450, and I think Kareem Hunt's already kind of taken over the bell cow role for the Chiefs. And then this last one's probably one of my favorites, especially if you like the under. The length of the longest field goal is going to be greater than total points in the game. And this kind of like has multiple ways to win, even if it gets to like 52 or 53. The over-under's 48, last I saw. They're indoors, so a 50-yard field goal gives you a couple points there, or even 52, 53. So it gives you a few more outs.
I was thinking of a reasonable way I could get them to 18. Let's do touchdown, 2-point conversion, touchdown, extra point, field goal. There you go.
All right.
I knew you were cooking over there. I didn't know what you were cooking up, but I could see the smoke coming out a little bit. Yeah, that's awesome. I went a little bit heavier as far as plus. So I just took a look and see like what can I make some decent money on. The first one here, each team to score 1+ rushing touchdown and 1+ passing touchdown in each half. I don't think that's going to be too challenging depending on how things play out defensively. Last year, or the last time that these guys played, it was a high scoring game. And I know we're thinking that it's going to be a lower scoring game this time around, but you never know in the Super Bowl. That's plus 7,500. Second one I've got here is plus 1+ rushing touchdown in each quarter for either team at plus 2,100. We've got anytime touchdown scorer and Patrick Mahomes at plus 400. We talked a little bit about that before the show. They get inventive. Patrick's not always one that's going to tuck it and run it, but I think this could be a scenario where we may end up seeing that in this game. Score 2+ touchdowns for Saquon Barkley at plus 280. I really like this bet. I'm kind of with Workman in that I don't know that he's going to get over 100 total yards rushing. But I do think there could be a scenario or two where they're in the red zone and Saquon finds a way to be able to score. So 2+ touchdowns for Saquon at plus 280. And then my favorite bet from a value standpoint and just what I hope to see happen here, Travis Kelce to score the first touchdown and Saquon Barkley to score the second for plus 3,400. So good money to be made on all of these bets. We do also offer a parlay bet. We did it last year. The parlay bet for us this year, we've got Pat Mahomes anytime touchdown, Travis Kelce anytime touchdown, and Xavier Worthy plus 5.5 rushing yards. We get all of those. We're hitting America plus 1776. So that is the TNT parlay bet of the Super Bowl this year. Give it to me one more time. America. All right. Love it. All right. Let's pick this game, guys. Our Super Bowl 59 matchup features the AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs against the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles. Kickoff is 6:30 p.m. Sunday at Caesars Superdome on Fox. Over under is 48.5. KC's favored by 1.5. Carter, who you got?
I think the spread shows you right there. It's basically a coin flip. But at the end of the day, I just have told myself I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes, especially in the playoffs. He just flips his switch and he turns into like the playoff terminator. I think that the coaching advantage is on that side. I think Spagnuolo over Kellen Moore is a big time advantage. It could go either way, but give me Mahomes, Kelce, and that defense with Spagnuolo to pull out the victory.
All right. I was hoping for that sound. We haven't heard it in a while. Jake, I think we already know based on one of your prop bets here, but
yeah,
who do you have?
Probably pretty obvious here. And I said I think they're going to win by 10. So the Chiefs obviously, and for the reasons Carter just said, I even brought it up a little bit earlier too, in regards to last game. But the Chiefs defense, I think, wins this game. I know Philly's defense is really good, but Mahomes is a magician. I think their offense can do a lot. What I don't think can happen is Philadelphia to be able to outmaneuver and out offense the Chiefs defense. That's where I really think the advantage is, like you were just saying, Spags versus Kellen Moore. They have Saquon Barkley, but I'm not that worried about him. I truly think the Chiefs game plan going into this game is shut him down, play tight man coverage, and make Jalen Hurts beat you. And I think that's a good recipe. I think they will win this game fairly easily. So I'm on the Chiefs minus 1.5, and I do like the under in this game.
All right. I think there's a couple things that we need to watch here. So the first thing I've got is the Eagles' inside rushing attack against the Chiefs' run defense. Eagles and Saquon Barkley specifically have been pretty top tier in the league on offense, while Spags' defense has been top 10 in the league in several different key rush defense statistics. If the Chiefs can limit the explosive runs, then that's probably going to force Philly out of their game plan, and then they're going to be able to hopefully generate some turnovers on Jalen Hurts. Second for me is how Jalen Hurts handles the Chiefs' pressure. Hurts had a solid game against the Commanders' pressure 2 weeks ago, but historically it's been a challenge for him. The Chiefs' defense is one of the better teams in the league at creating pressure, so Hurts is going to need to be efficient in his dropbacks and get out quickly if the pocket collapses, which is probably going to happen pretty often. Last thing I have noted here is the Chiefs' motion on offense versus the Eagles' D. I think this is going to be probably the most fun matchup to watch. KC seems to have upped their game deploying motion in the playoffs, and the Eagles' defense has been on lockdown all year, but this might create some flashback nightmares for the Eagles because KC's motion on offense is a big reason why they ended up winning the Super Bowl when they played in Super Bowl 57. They locked down 2 late touchdowns towards the end of the game that came off of pre-motion before the snap, and it threw Philly off. All of this said, we talk about it over and over again. Both of you guys have said it. KC just keeps finding ways to win close games, especially this year. And with all the pieces together, I think the biggest edge is going to be a couple key differentiators, and that's the head coaching position. Spags versus Kellen Moore, and most importantly, who has the better quarterback, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. So we are going a clean sweep here on TNT. I am taking KC to win and cover and make it a three-peat. That is it for us, guys. That is our last pick of the year. We will be back with you guys next week to recap the matchup and to go forward and look at. I think we talked about doing this last week. In the next show, we'll probably go through and look at what our picks were, both in college and NFL. Jake and I will compare the two. Hopefully, we're coming in talking about some of the money that we made.
Mock draft.
We'll talk about that as well. And that'll be the last show of the year until we hit April. So thanks for everybody that tuned in, for Jacob Workman and the Carter.
I got a couple more props I want to throw
Carter's
out there.
not done.
Let's go.
Carter's
Let's
not
go.
done.
Just two more.
Two more.
I have to do it.
Gird up your loins.
This one,
Here we go.
This one for the brand, 1,600 O-lineman to score a touchdown. If the Lions were in this, I'd feel a lot better about it. But
yeah, if the Lions, that'd be
Andy
minus
Reid
150.
might throw a bone to Tooney or something. I mean, there's going to be some type of trickeration, and I mean, plus 1,600 for an O-lineman. And another one, plus 550 for a doink. If they hit an upright,
I like that. I like that.
And Elliott's been a little bit shaky. I know it's indoors, so the kicking conditions should be fine. But I thought, why not for those two? So I couldn't put him in my 5, but I had to throw him out there.
Buckner's going to have a performance of his life because his man's going to be in attendance. So I'm sure he'll be kicking it 100 miles an hour. So,
oh, good Lord.
I know.
Jake, you have any last second prop bets you want to throw out there?
No, not prop bets. All I want to say is everyone prepare. Late April, there's an NFL draft on Thursday night. We've said this a few times. Please, anyone on earth that knows anything about football, feel free to join us. It's a long night. We like to talk to draft college guys going in. The class this year is not really that fantastic either, so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a long, fun night. But anyone that was willing to participate, please just send us a message, and you will be more than welcome to join us for the draft.
Yes, and Carter, make sure you're about 4 or 5 deep before you jump on, please, because
I'm going to set a cooler right next to me here. I'll be ready to roll.
That's what I like to see.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you again for joining and checking out the show. Please like, share, subscribe. As always, for Jacob Workman and the Carter, this is Reese Downing, TNT Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast, Super Bowl prop picks and game picks. We will see you guys next week. Go Eagles. Delta Eagles, that is.
Later, guys.